Coming up on today's episode of DLLS Mavs is Dereck Lively ready for a sensational sophomore year. Plus, is Jason Kidd a top 10 NBA head coach? All that and more on today's episode of DLLS Mavs. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks insider Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team every single day. You can find me on X at Kevin Gray Sports, at Tim_Cato, at Bobby Carella. You can also dial up the Stein line at the Stein line for our guy, Mark Stein. He'll be joining us later on this week here on DLLS Mavs. The best way that you can help grow us here at DLLS Sports is to like, comment, and subscribe on our video, and of course, for the YouTube channel, and become a diehard member at alldlls.com/diehard. But before we get into any of our fantastic topics for the show today, including if Jason Kidd's a top 10 NBA head coach, I welcome in my guys, Tim Cato, Bobby Carella. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Hello.
Hello.
How was your weekend, gentlemen?
I've decided that football is not a good sport. Fantasy football is not a good pastime.
Oh, wow.
I set the highest scoring week in my league's history.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So I agree with you, except like the opposite of what you said.
Okay.
Fantasy football is the best, and NFL football is the best for you this week anyway.
It actually sucks, but my fantasy team is good.
I do think Sleeper is great, though.
Sleeper is good. We'll get to them here in just a little bit. By the way, who's your quarterback for your fantasy football team?
Kyler.
Oh, Kyler Murray. Yeah, he
He had a
did
good
go off
game.
against the Rams. So
And
yeah,
I
you
had
did have a
him
good
again.
weekend.
And I had Kamara.
Oh, so you really went smooth. You don't want to
That
beat the
guy
brakes off
exists.
everybody. So yeah, Alvin Kamara
Yeah.
and Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to both of those
Who's
guys.
my other guy who popped off?
Except you're a Cowboys fan, because my week was miserable other than going to a wedding and having fun there. But my week was miserable. Yeah.
All this
Had a good
wholesome
week.
family time, but the Cowboys lost, man. My life
Miserable
sucks.
damn weekend.
My life
because the
sucks.
Cowboys got the brakes beat off of them by the New Orleans Saints. By the way, my family, my wife's side of the
Godwin.
family is from Louisiana. So my daughter and I had a running bet this weekend that if the Cowboys won, she would have to say, "Go Cowboys." But if the Saints won, I would have to get on camera. My wife would video this, meet me on camera.
I was going to say, you're here right now.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to knock this out in one?
No. I've already done it once. I had to
Okay.
sing the Who Dat song, because the Saints sang that Who Dat, Anyway, I had to sing
you
that
almost
on
did it.
camera. I know, right? And my wife put it on Facebook for my own shame and embarrassment, but to give her family an opportunity to laugh at my expense because of Cowboys.
Is your family big on Facebook still?
Actually, a lot of them are.
Yeah?
A lot of them are. So they got to watch and just laugh all over. It was my sister-in-law's birthday yesterday. So she called me as we were driving back from out of town and laughed in my face because the Cowboys lost because she's a big Saints fan.
Well, I
tough
mean,
one.
it's not
Yeah.
not a you a ho shirt. So
Good call, Tim.
Yeah.
That's
Good
right.
call.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
That's right.
Anyway, sorry to the Cowboys fans who saw the Saints lose or Saints win because it was a bad weekend. But it's always a great day and a great week to talk Mavericks basketball here on DLLS Mavs. We're going to do plenty of that, and plus coming up in 10 minutes, we're going to preview Dereck Lively's upcoming season. Is he in for a sensational sophomore year or a slump? We'll get into that here in just a little bit. But before that, it was a busy weekend for the Mavericks, including Dirk Nowitzki having his Foundation Tennis Classic and Klay Thompson also appearing as well. Our DLLS Mavs crew with Tanner and our guy Tim Cato was there covering the festivities, and it prompted this question, gentlemen, that we'll react to here because the Mavericks, of course, made the NBA Finals last year, have a chance to get back there again this year. What's a trait from the 2011 championship team that you want to see this Mavericks team adopt? And I want you to think about that for a second, because I'm going to play this video from Klay Thompson speaking about, hey, he had a chance to watch some 2011 Mavericks championship run on YouTube. Here's why our guy Tim Cato, who asked the question, said he watched it.
I saw just an incredible group that persevered through, a low seed and beat some incredibly talented teams, whether it was Kobe Lakers or KD's Thunder and even the Heatles of Miami. It was just a run that was so inspiring, and it was cool to watch that and try and replicate that in the upcoming season.
What was the motivation behind just pulling that up on YouTube?
It was just recommended footage. I was like, man, this is cool. I'm going to check this out. I just got to Dallas, and I want to have this in the back of my mind while I'm out here of why I did come here, and that's to help uplift the city and try and win. There's no greater feeling, especially as a sportsman.
So Klay Thompson, some recommended watching, and decided, hey, I'm going to take in the Mavericks 2011 YouTube run, and he did. But that prompted that question when it came
Horrific question, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. As it came
I was saying
up,
mine. What do you mean, thank you?
My bad. I thought you were talking about the question I came up with. That's right. You are a question and
my.
answer guy. That's my bad.
On behalf of DLLS, thank you.
Thank you. Exactly. That is my bad. Tim's question was fantastic.
No, horrific.
Your question is good, though.
Thank you. I appreciate the
Yes.
affirmation. Thank
Sorry,
you so
go
much.
ahead.
No. But the question being, what's a trait from that 2011 Mavericks championship team that you want this current team to adopt going into this year and beyond?
The 2011 championship team, you don't win titles by accident. You got to win a lot of games in order to win a championship, and a lot of those games are going to be played at home. And Dallas, during that run to the 2011 title, opening round against Portland, 3-0 at home. Second round against the Lakers, 2-0 at home. Western Conference Finals against the Thunder, 2-1 at home. Finals against Miami, 2-1 at home. Skip ahead to 2024, look back at what the Mavs just did in the playoffs this past season against the Clippers. They did go 2-1, which is good. Thunder, they went 2-1. Wolves, they went 1-1. Celtics, 1-1.
Yeah.
You got to win these home games. Now, Dallas was able to play really, really good basketball through the first 3 rounds on the road. They did not drop many games at all away from home, which is important because they started all these series on the road. But, man, you've got to protect your home court. During the regular season last year, the Mavs just 25-16, which compared to a lot of the teams that finished ahead and around them in the standings is very poor. You know, you have to win closer to 75% of your games. You want to try and win 30 home games per season out of the 41 you play, and the Mavs just they didn't do that. So you got to protect your home court. Got to protect your home court.
I like that. Winning at home is it's good.
It's you. Not like a bit. It's super important.
Yeah.
You know, especially this year, if the Mavs are going to be a top 4 team, they're going to play game 1 at home. And, like, it's a lot easier to win series after winning game 1, you know?
I would love if this year's Mavs replicated the championship team in the sense that they should go higher, go sign Corey Brewer.
Oh,
was a
wow.
great
Okay.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah. But beyond that, so do you know who the net rating leader, the on-off leader in the postseason was that run for the Mavericks?
JJ Barea.
I was going to say JJ Barea.
It was Jason Terry, in fact.
Oh, really?
But
Okay, that
that
makes
leads
sense. Okay.
right down my same line of thinking, which is I think it'd be awesome if this year's team just had a devastating bench. Just like a bench that's going to add 5 points to your lead, you know, to start the first few minutes of every second quarter. I think that's a really important thing. I think that could be really important in the postseason. I think as we look at the starting 5, I don't think that I would say, oh, the Mavericks clearly have a better starting 5 than the Boston Celtics or the Oklahoma City Thunder. But they do have all this, you know, depth that we keep talking about. They have all this talent. You know, Mark Stein keeps saying, how are they going to play them all? If you are able to use that, so you just have this edge every time a few starters come out and get their rest. Obviously, Kyrie, obviously, Luka, one of those two, still going to be out there. But just having a bench unit that just rolls through people, I think that is it normalizes any sort of talent gap that you might see from the start. And I think that's important.
This team doesn't have like the microwave scorer of Jet. I guess Jet was even more consistent than a microwave, or like the sort of the change of pace playmaking of Barea, or the shooting of Stojakovic or whatever off the bench. But this past season's Mavs team had Dereck Lively off the bench, which is like a game changer. We'll talk about him in the next segment. But you know, now that he's presumably going to be elevated to the starting lineup, can Daniel Gafford change the game? You know, can Najee Marshall change the game? I think great benches are able to play good basketball, obviously, but you're introducing a dynamic that is not already there in the starting lineup. Different kind of energy, different kind of size, different kind of pace, different kind of tempo. You're able to make your impact known right away. And that's the trick with coming off the bench. You hear guys talk about this all the time. Tim Hardaway, chief among them, as he was kind of back and forth with the Mavs, is when you start, the game can kind of come to you.
Sure.
But when you come off the bench, you got to come in like first possession,
Instantly
second possession,
ready.
make an impact.
Yes.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, in the postseason, JJ Barea had the worst net rating.
Wow. So we were
Other than
completely
Deshaun
off.
Stevenson.
Fake news. That's fake news.
Other
Numbers
than
lie.
but
No.
this is just the postseason run. Also, it doesn't matter. Also, just found that curious.
Stats lie. That's my opinion.
Isn't that weird, though?
JJ did have a tough series against the Thunder and
Yeah.
against the Blazers, but he was money against the Lakers and Heat.
That's
So
right.
Stevenson was actually way worse than him,
Yes.
and then Jan Mahimi. But
Yeah, we don't talk about it.
that's kind of funny.
Folks
Anyway.
dropping in the chat as well what they want the championship trait to be. I want to go back to Williams real quick because I thought that was a really good one from William. He said the trait from that season is perseverance. So many huge games we came back to win that would have been debilitating if we lost. That's a great trait to have, is definitely perseverance when you're trying to win a championship.
This Mavs team made a lot of comebacks. Let's not forget, like Game 6 against OKC, they're down 17 at the half. They were playing awful basketball. The Clippers, they ended up losing that game, but they were down 31 or something in the second
That's
quarter.
right.
They came back
Actually
and took
took
the
a lead.
Like,
Yeah,
they
did.
made a lot of
Minnesota too.
Yeah,
they're down
game
10,
1 or game 2. They were down like 15. They
Yeah,
came
10,
back.
15 points. I believe that was.
I think it was game 2.
Yeah, I believe it was game 2. But they were down, I believe, late in game 1 as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
they were down late in that game by like 5 or 6.
Yeah, and they came back and
Right.
won. Yeah.
So
From Ben, I hope we develop that lockdown defense down the stretch with that 2011 team as well. Continue to throw those in the chat as you want to figure out what trait from that 2011 team that you want. And the one I'll pick, and I think one that we're starting to kind of see already, and it's kind of personified in my favorite Maverick, apparently, PJ Washington, which is that dog in him, that D-A-W-G dog in him. Because the guy that I think about most when it comes to that, a guy like Deshaun Stevenson, right? A guy that was not going to take any frill from anyone else, was a tough, hard-nosed player, but also gave you that extra oomph and presence when he was able to have that impact on the game. And I think the Mavericks have some of that in a guy like PJ Washington, but collectively as a team. And I think that honestly kind of starts with Luka Doncic as well. The mentality and the approach that he goes every game with and attacking folks. That kind of dog in the Mavericks, I think, is something that they have somewhat in them already, but now it becomes full-fledged grown man dog this year. And I know that's not your hard-hitting analysis that you may be looking for, but it's a trait that I think that every good championship team has when they're trying to make a run toward the NBA Finals.
You might not see that every night, but it will pop up. I mean, it's important that it comes from players that aren't just Luka, because Luka is, and it's impossible for everybody to be on for 82 nights a year. But one of Luka's flaws that we talk about is some nights he just is like, meh. Like he just isn't, he's not locked in like a psychotic maniac that he is. But you have somebody else that's going to not take any, that's going to stare at the Clippers like this. Like that can galvanize everybody.
You'll get that from Lively, from Gafford, from PJ, from Najee. Like there are players to provide this. I think this team is on track to provide that. But I agree, it's important.
One last thing that I do want to say.
Sure.
I would have said this had they not just gone on a run to the finals last year, but one big missing piece from this Mavs team as recently as last season was a lot of playoff experience. This Mavs team had one playoff run in the Luka era before this past year. Kyrie obviously has won a championship and has played a lot of postseason basketball. Now you add Klay, and he's played even more. A lot of the guys just went to the finals. So this will still be the first playoff run for some players, but I think pretty much everybody has been to the postseason at least once. And that matters a whole lot. It's not going to be anybody's first time anymore.
Yeah, that experience is going to be extremely valuable for this team, not just so they approach night to night, but also going into the playoffs as well. Continue to drop those in the chat, the trait that you want from the 2011 Mavericks team that you want this current Mavericks team to develop as they get ready for this upcoming year. Coming up here in just a moment, we begin to preview Dereck Lively's upcoming season. Is he in line for a sensational sophomore year or a slump for the second-year center? But before we get there, let me talk to you a little bit about Sleeper. I got some ball knowers here on set with me, but are you a ball knower as well? Because if you are, I need you to check out Sleeper, the Sleeper app that you know for hosting the best fantasy football leagues in the game. Now allows you to put your knowledge to the test in every game by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. This week, Cowboys take on the Ravens. I know the Cowboys got the break beat off of them against the Saints on Sunday. They're looking to bounce back against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens on Sunday. I'm taking Dak Prescott to have more than his projected 200 passing yards and CeeDee Lamb to have more than his projected 50 wide receiving yards on Sunday against the Ravens.
Whatever it is for Zay Flowers, more than. I just saw what Rashid Shaheed did to the Cowboys.
I'm sure if you're watching the Ravens offense right now, Derrick Henry had 87 yards yesterday.
Triple it.
Yeah, you could probably go more on that after the Cowboys run
He's
defense
also
that
on
you
my
saw.
team team, so yes, please.
Yeah, more for Derrick Henry, I'm sure, on their rushing attack for him. But with Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries, so stay ahead of the game with and keep track of league updates in real time so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. If you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Mavs to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in 25 states. Check out Sleeper today.
Jerry Jones, if you are still searching for a great candidate for your company, perhaps a defensive coordinator.
Or a defensive tackle, damn it.
Don't search, just match with Indeed.
Or a running back, damn it.
If you need to hire, you need Indeed, Jerry Jones.
All of them people.
Indeed is your
wide
matching
receiver.
Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Jerry, you can ditch the busy work. You can get back to doing clearance interviews. Just use Indeed for scheduling, screening, messaging, so you can connect with your candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Look at Tim Cato in his bag today with his Indeed read. Look at you, Tim. Good job, man. Looking forward to your next
Cowboys
do a
are
good
in
job.
shambles right now. Absolutely in shambles.
Completely. Also, I saw that in there as well. Somebody said draft some curtains. Ardell talking about AT&T Stadium. We're not going to talk about that right now. It's a Mavs show. But that's a good point, though. Gentlemen, Dereck Lively is ready for his second year with the Dallas Mavericks after a sensational rookie year last year. Is looking to duplicate that and take a little bit more of a jump and leap this upcoming year. The product out of Duke was fantastic during the course, especially during the second half of the year. Hit his first three in the NBA Finals. Bobby Carrello, what can we look forward to based off the statistical profile of Dereck Lively II from last season?
Yeah, so Dereck Lively last season, 8.8 points, 6.9 rebounds, 1.4 blocks, finished on the all-rookie second team. Spent most of the season starting, but then did switch to a bench role down the stretch for the Mavs. Shot almost 75% from the floor as a rookie. You mentioned he did hit a three in the finals, and I hope that he's willing to take a whole lot of them. But his production was not limited to just the outside shot. In the playoffs, he averaged 13 points and 12 boards per 36 minutes. One important contract detail coming up for him. He's in the second year of his rookie deal. But the Mavs have until October 31st to decide if they want to pick up his player option for the club option, for next season. So not quite sure if he'll be around much longer. The Mavs have a tough decision to make coming up
Dereck.
if they want to pay him $5.2 million next year.
I think
Just
that
not
would be
sure
money
about that
well
one.
spent, yes, to keep Lively around for sure. Is Dereck Lively ready to be a top 10 center this year, Tim Cato?
I think he is. I think he has that ability. It's all about adding on to his defensive presence for me. You know, I think there's times early in the season I was more impressed with his offense than his defense, and I want to see some strides offensively. But the way that he's a top 10 center is that he is just a fearsome rim protector. That he is somebody who, you know, takes the best moments that we've seen and elevates himself. He's somebody that, you know, can play any type of coverage that he's asked to do. Someone who's going to keep taking strides as being able to switch out occasionally, but also, you know, this scheme is really about keeping him near the rim, keeping all the big men, all players of size as close to the rim as you can. And I think that, you know, he's on his way to, you know, I think he was a top 10 impact center in the postseason. Mm-hmm. So that's already halfway checked off.
Yeah.
Now he's just got to be able to do it for an entire season and just keep building.
For some folks, they feel like he's already in the top 10. Would you maybe temper that, maybe an honorable mention right now outside the top 10, or would you already put him in the top 10?
I don't know. Let me run down a list of the highest paid centers in the league real quick. Now, I'm not going to include Anthony Davis or Cat on this list.
Okay.
Not Kat Tibiaba, I mean Karl Anthony Towns.
Good call.
Because Cat plays the four most of the time. AD prefers to play the four most of the time, and I think he's going to this year. Jokic, Bam, Embiid, Gobert, I think we can all agree are definitely better than Lively. But then you get to guys like Jared Allen, Isaiah Hartenstein, DeAndre Ayton, Nick Claxton, Brooke Lopez, Clint Capella. I think Lively's better than a lot of those guys.
Are you calling Domantas Sabonis as a center?
Oh, he's not even on here. What the heck?
Okay.
What? How much money does he make? Is he listed as a power forward?
He must
on,
be listed
on
as a power forward. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Sabonis obviously is up there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I might be excluding some people in that regard, so my bad. Yeah, Domantas Sabonis is listed as a power forward for some reason.
Okay.
But yeah, there's like 5 or 6 names that are definitely better than Lively, and then you can make a really good case for Lively for all the other players, or many of them. Some of that is projection, but some of that is what I saw in the playoffs. I mean, he dominated Chet. He was better for large stretches of that Wolves series than Gobert and Towns. And Naz Reid. Eat your heart out, Naz Reid. And he was... I mean, KP was very limited in the finals, but I thought Lively made a really, really, really big impact in the finals positively. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. He might be a top 10 center right now.
Yeah.
He might be pushing for top 5 very soon.
If he's not in the top 10, he's definitely honorable mention when it comes to top 10. I think he has the chance to jump into that category this year. You talked about, Tim, the defensive impact that he made, not just in the playoffs, but continuing to show that going into this upcoming year. And obviously with the maturity that he came into last year with, we know all the things that he dealt with outside of the court.
A couple of people in the chat saying Wemby, sorry. That must be
Wemby,
another power
Chet,
forward. But
yeah.
Wemby did, to be fair here, Wemby played a lot of power forward last season.
Yeah.
But he is a center, obviously, long
Yeah,
term.
Wemby and Chet are, they're not going to be on your list there.
Well, Chet and Hartenstein play the same position.
Jaren Jackson Jr.
Jaren Jackson Jr. from Memphis.
I don't know. Zach Edey's going to be starting at 5 for them. Maybe.
That's true. That's true.
So,
Yeah. But regardless, I think he has the ceiling and the potential to be a top 10 center. Offensively, we know that there's some things he's continuing to work on. We see him working with Sean Sweeney every single day. Tyson Chandler, talking about the 2011 team, working with Tyson Chandler every day in practice. So he has the want to get better. I'm interested to see how much more offense he adds to his game, especially within that 5-foot area. If there is something that more we see in terms of maybe a nice little baby hook or something that he adds to his offensive repertoire. Because I know everybody wants him to shoot a little bit more from the outside, but one of the things that he talked about recently when he was working out at Duke was he wants to dominate and focus in on the paint, becoming that ferocious rebounder, obviously on the defensive end, blocking shots, but also becoming that much more efficient around the rim as well, not just a continuous lob threat that we know that he is when he comes to finishing at the rim there.
I want to see more of the one dribble drives. You know, he's gonna get the ball sometimes, and he's gonna be at the nail, and he's very good at making that pass to the corner. But you know, we saw him break out Euro steps every once in a while.
In transition.
In transition, stuff like that. You know, like that's really impressive. If he can do that with a little bit more fluidity, I guess fluidity, what the moves he was making, his athleticism is very fluid. I want him to be able to not just do it in a one-on-one fast break transition type opportunity, but kind of see the floor, you know, be able to slither into space, even if there's traffic, even if it's a half-court setting. Like that's something I think that he can develop at, power into somebody and finish. I think he has a lot of ability to, become just a better finisher in a lot of ways, like a clever finisher. I think we saw enough of that I think he can build on to that just ability of his that makes him that much more lethal. Maybe makes him like a 10 points per game scorer.
I mean, a lot of this stuff is like more generally advanced, but he's 20 years old, and we're already talking about this stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he's I wouldn't say he's mastered basketball or anything, but he's definitely a very, very developed big man, and kind of the one knock against using a lottery pick on a non-generational guy like Wemby, for example, was obviously you knew he was going to be very good. But on a raw 19-year-old, and he didn't even play a full season at Duke, is that it could take 3 or 4 years to get up to speed with everything, to play without fouling, to understand how to set a screen, to know the pace of when to roll and how to make yourself a target, and when to go for a rebound, when to go for a block versus when to be a little more conservative. But like he's got a lot of that stuff down. I think now the thing that will distinguish him from a lot of the other similarly good big, like I think Nick Claxton is an unbelievable center, but I think Lively could be better than him because with centers especially, oftentimes you're going to be limited by relative inflexibility. Now, some of this is like physique. You're 7'2" and 260 pounds. You can't really run with teams that play small.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're way too skinny, so you can't bang with big dudes. But Lively has the ability to fit in offensively and defensively in any kind of system if he can become a little better shooter, if he can become a little more talented off the bounce. Defensively, if he can become a little thicker, if he can become a little more comfortable on the perimeter, like he's very, very close. already in year 2 of his career to being able to play in any kind of defensive system and any kind of offense.
Yeah.
You know, now he's not going to go bombs away 10 threes a game or anything, but like you could credibly, if he develops a little bit, you can credibly leave him in the corner and teams will have to like think about it, you know, and they're not going to give him like the Derrick Jones or Josh Giddey treatment, for example. That is what makes you individually extremely good, but also in terms of value and in terms of like the ability to fit in any kind of system with any kind of coach, with any kind of teammates, a very, very,
coachable.
very unique player. Yeah.
Yeah, very coachable. I like what you said in terms about his physicality, because you mentioned only 20 years old, still growing and developing into that body of his, learning the physicality of the game, and got a real taste of it, obviously making the run that they did to the finals last year. I'm interested because did you see this coming from him last year? We talked about the game that he had against San Antonio. Were you surprised, gentlemen, how quickly he was able to really start to pick up the game and some of the nuances, given how raw we thought he was coming into the league and how he was able to really grow and mature as the season went on? Were you surprised how quickly that actually happened for him?
Oh, of course. I remember texting you during the preseason and being like, you know, I think I was texting you about like how Lively's screen setting was just not like, hey, this offense can't function without somebody who's like really intuitive and knows exactly what to do. And Lively picked that up. He picked it up so quickly. But I remember that really standing out even in the first game, that the offense,
even in summer league, because some of the summer league games were a little rough.
yeah, 100%. And so, yeah, he absolutely stunned me that he was ready this quickly. You know, stunned the Mavericks. That's not what they were expecting. There was, you know, far more buzz during summer league of last season or last summer. That it was going to be Omax who might be able to play real minutes early on.
That's why I thought Lively would spend time with the Legends last year.
I think a lot of us did. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, basically almost 100%. You know, flipped. You know, I remember Mark Cuban telling me, January, February. That's when the team was kind of thinking, you know, he would be ready to contribute, perhaps. But certainly not, you know, start literally, you know, basically from the first game.
Yeah, I mean, like, Game 5 of the finals, be like, man, we could really use more Lively right now. I don't think anyone could have ever gotten to that point, but you know, it's really important. The screen setting thing is really important because like you have to be able to fit with your stars, right? You have to be able to fit in as a supporting player. Maybe one day Dereck Lively's an all-star and then guys will have to fit with him. But on this team, specifically with your superstar, with Luka Doncic, you have to be able to set rock-solid screens. You have to force the defense to make a choice. Luka doesn't have the speed to just turn around the corner, get right to the rim in one dribble and throw it down, you know, or finish real crafty off the backboard the way the guy like Kyrie can. You have to force the defense to do something. And it took Lively about 2 minutes to figure out that, you know, something that we've seen other big men try and fail to do. So Dwight Powell is the forever starter in Dallas because no other center could figure out how to dance with Luka. Lively did in his first game.
I've talked to Lively about this. You know, you're not just going up there and setting a good screen. You set a different screen for Kyrie than you do for Luka. You set yet another different type of variation or placement or exactly where you want to be standing. You set it differently depending if they're running drop coverage or if they're blitzing.
Are you on the right or left side of the floor?
Yeah.
It's all this stuff. It's all these things that he has to be thinking about. If they're blitzing, you know, you set a specific type of pick that you're going to slip out of and be ready to receive the ball.
And where are you rolling to?
But where? And you know, you got to roll away from where the defense is shaded. You've got to, you know, you're trying to roll to the nail a lot of the times, but what if that's taken? You know, what if that area of the court? You have to know where the space is behind you when you're making that roll. You have to recognize, what if they've switched 5 plays in a row and all of a sudden they throw a blitz in there?
Yeah.
You as a center, if Lively just goes through the motions and assumes that it's going to be another switch and he's already hustling, not looking, you know, and doesn't realize that Luka is now trapped and needs to outlet him the ball, that's something that he learned and picked up on. And it's something that is just incredible that he was so advanced at recognizing this stuff from literally a being a teenager.
And then when you catch the ball, you got to be able to finish with either hand around the rim, off the backboard, off the glass,
through contact,
through guys, through contact.
Yes.
And you have to know where you are on the floor because you're looking over here to catch the ball, but the rim is right here. And when you catch it, you can't shuffle your feet.
Yeah.
Right? And he was 19 and figured it all out. So, like, I don't even know what to expect from him this year. He could average 15 a game this year and then be like, cool, yeah.
Tremendous basketball IQ for Dereck Lively. And it's funny you mentioned that because we'll talk about that more coming up next segment. What is the ceiling for Dereck Lively this upcoming year and what that can mean for the impact for the Mavericks as they try to get back to the NBA Finals? But before we get there, Bobby, talk to me a little bit about Shady Rays.
Dereck Lively II is a sunglasses guy, and I am too.
His future is really bright too.
Yep, and you can be as well. With quality shades built to last from our friends at Shady Rays, where they have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company. More than 300,000 people have given them a 5-star rating. They got durable frames, crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all your outdoor adventures or even inside at a basketball game under those bright lights at American Airlines Center. You got hundreds of
Are
options.
you really
to choose
encouraging
from.
people to wear sunglasses indoors at the American Airlines
If you want to
Center?
be sunglasses indoors, guy or gal, I think you should be able to. With Shady Rays, you're going to look great because they have Mavs colored sunglasses.
Okay.
They got Cowboys colored,
That's why you
Stars
wear 'em.
colored
There you go.
sunglasses.
I'll allow
So
it.
you're going to blend right in. And if you're anything like me and you lose glasses a lot, or you accidentally sit on them whenever they're in your driver's seat of your car,
Ouch.
or you are playing sports with them and a frisbee hits you in the face because you forget that you're playing frisbee, so you need to be on the lookout for frisbees, don't sweat it. They have every pair is backed by a lost or broken replacement. If you don't like them, even if you get your shades and they're not what you thought you were going to get, hey, you got 30 days to get those returned worry-free, and they'll get you set up with a new pair. So there is no risk when you shop. It's all taken care of, man. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code DLLS and save yourself 35% off of polarized sunglasses. Again, shadyrays.com and use promo code DLLS. Save yourself some sweet, sweet cash.
And after you get those amazing pair of Shady Rays, you can get some really cool gear over at FOCO. Get fitted in the best sports gear around with FOCO. They got hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. If you're going to a basketball game or a hockey game or even a football game, if you still cheer for the Cowboys, you can show off your love with team friendship bracelets as well, whether it's jackets, beachwear, or even overalls. Yes, overalls. There is something for fans almost for every occasion. They also have set decorations. You can see some of them behind me just a little bit here on our set here at DLLS Mavs. FOCO has donated a few awesome pieces for our set, so make sure you go show them some love as well. Make sure you check out FOCO.com or click the link in the description below for all non-presale items and use the promo code DLLS10 for 10% off. Check out FOCO today to get some amazing gear and apparel. Shout out to FOCO. Coming up here in about 12 minutes is Jason Kidd, a top 10 coach in the NBA. This particular publication says is not, but we'll debate it and figure it out here in just a moment. But
that publication is not us.
That's not us. It's definitely not here at DLLS.
Can I say something off the top here?
Oh, for sure.
All right. I made a frisbee joke because once upon a time, my buddy threw a disc golf frisbee through a very tiny window and it hit me in the face.
Ouch.
If I'm playing ultimate frisbee, that thing is going up. I'm going up and catching it. I might not look like much of an athlete, right? I'm 6'2", 6'3", and I have like a neutral to maybe +1 wingspan.
Okay.
But relative to people that play ultimate frisbee, oh boy, I'm tall, I'm long, I'm agile. I can go up and get it. So my catch radius is huge.
Are you
I'm
the
not
Dereck
dropping
Lively
the frisbee.
of Ultimate Frisbee?
In my day, I was a pretty good ultimate frisbee player. I'm not
Okay.
gonna lie. I don't want to
Yeah.
brag too much.
I need the
but,
video proof to make sure that is an accurate
there's not going to be any of that.
Well,
we should
it
do
didn't
a
happen
little
then.
DLLS Frisbee game.
All right, yeah, hit me up.
Oh,
I'm down.
nice.
Hit me
There you
up.
go.
We just let's talk about it.
Well, I want Dereck Lively on my team because I'm sure he would increase my thing of
You think
beating
he'd play
these-
frisbee with us?
I think he probably would. He probably have fun. He plays
Dereck
with
Lively,
Legos and
come on
stuff. Like, I'm sure
DLLS.
he wouldn't mind being playing fun games and stuff like that.
He lives down the street from us.
Oh,
In
does
the
he?
studio. Yeah.
So we'll have to make that happen. Dereck Lively, we want you to
very
play
nearby.
Ultimate Frisbee with us. We want you to answer this question, though, in the chat. What is Dereck Lively's ceiling for this team this upcoming year, and what does it mean for the Mavericks as they try to make another run to the NBA Finals? And I want to think about this question not just with Lively, but also in tandem with Daniel Gafford. We did his preview last week as well, so we've got the center group pretty much covered on this show already. So when we start thinking about Dereck Lively and his ceiling, and Bobby, I'll start with you. What is the ceiling you feel like for Dereck Lively this upcoming year for this team?
This year or in his career?
Chamberlain.
35 consecutive made field goals. That's right. something
Just
of
for
that
this season?
For this season and beyond, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, for this season, I think the upper end of what we could expect or hope for would be 28 to 30 minutes of really, really quality center play.
Also, maybe even reducing some of those Gafford minutes. It sounds
Potentially.
like.
I mean, I think Lively's really dang good, man. And if he's able to this year, if he's able to step out on the perimeter, switch a little more, allow the Mavs a few more options on defense on a possession-to-possession basis, I think it becomes a lot more valuable, a lot more game-changing. I mean, I think long-term, His upper end of projectionness is like
Projectivity?
projectivability.
Projectivity, I like it.
Yep. Go ahead and look it up.
Projectiveness.
Look it up yourself. It's a real word.
Projectivism.
Is like a Nick Claxton caliber defender where he can switch off onto guards and stay in front of anybody.
When you said Claxton in the last segment, that really registered with or resonated with me as a really good comp for him.
I mean,
like a
he's
guy who
unbelievable,
he
yeah.
wants to. That is the type of player that he should aspire to be next season and ultimately surpass.
Yeah, I mean, it
But
could
like,
take. Claxton
being-
didn't come in the NBA being able to do that. You
Yeah.
know, you got to like. Now I think Lively's fleet of foot. Claxton's closer to 6'9", 6'10", so maybe it's tougher for a 7'2" guy to be able to do that all the time. But the NBA is getting bigger, right? So there's going to be fewer and fewer as Lively becomes 23, 25, 28. There's not going to be a lot of 5'10" guys you got to chase around anymore. Like point guards are going to be 6'4", 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah.
So he might be able to do that long term. Offensively, he might be able to be a 35% shooter on 2 or 3 attempts per game.
Which would be incredible for this team in terms of the spacing. I think for a lot of
not this season, but
long term. I think for a lot of folks, Tim, when they look at Dereck Lively, and we mentioned a little bit earlier how he works with, Tyson Chandler every single day. We were talking about the 2011 Mavericks team. I think a lot of Mavericks fans see Tyson Chandler-esque characteristics in Dereck Lively. Are there similar things that the two of them do, or is Lively at a point where he's already ahead of what Tyson Chandler was at this stage of their career that he could project to be even better than what Chandler was? And that was eventually a defensive player of the year in the league.
I think he's ahead of him because just it's so unprecedented. But remember, Tyson Chandler came into the league and he was a small forward.
That's true.
His rookie season, pretty much, and then was played at power forward. The main reason for that is that Tyson Chandler was such a fluid athlete that the NBA was just not accustomed to centers being able to move like that, and so that's where a lot of these comparisons come in. Just that, like Chandler, Dereck Lively is somebody who gets up and down the court and he can move his hips and he can flip his hips, and that's a skill. That's you need the base level athleticism to allow that to be unlocked. But there's still a lot of unlocking and training and both weight room and just on the court learning how and when to shuffle and to kind of predict and know where the defenders are going, the ball handler, if you're switched on one of them, it's some of it is film work, and that's something that he's also excelled at. Like he has to know, where is this player I'm guarding, the star player I'm guarding, what spot is he trying to get to in this situation? What do I need to be looking for specifically? And so I think there's absolutely a lot of comparisons. I do think that, him as a Lively as a defensive player of the year caliber player, I think is absolutely possible for his future. That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, very hard for sure.
But yeah, offensively, I do absolutely think that, is it too soon to say that Lively is already more polished as an offensive player than Chandler ever was? I think when you really think about his passing, I would say so.
Probably. I mean, Tyson got a little better at that like sort of 4 to 5 foot putback as he aged, but I mean, it was also just a different skill set that big men needed in those days. Like in those days, it was still a lot of back to the basket whenever he came in the league, and that was never really part of his game. He never really quite had that touch. But one thing that Tyson also had, well, you're talking about like this chameleon-esque kind of ability to like sometimes he would move like he's 6'6". He's got the agility of a wing, but then he blocks shots like he's 7'6". You're like, I can't believe this guy's so freaking big. Yeah, Tyson was only 6'11". Dereck Lively 7'2".
Yeah, already surpassing the 7 foot mark.
He has a 7 foot 7'8", 7'9" wingspan.
Yeah,
7'7" wingspan or something. Like there is no shot on the floor that he can't block. And so getting that timing down, getting that awareness down, getting the anticipation down, like he's going to be a absolute freakazoid in like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and the timing and the awareness is still so far ahead of where you would expect a rookie to be. There's just also so much more room for him to improve.
When you have that physical capability, that's what's possible. I think he has like the approach to be able to do that.
Right.
If he can be a double-double guy where he gets you 10 boards, 10 points per game, maybe get you a block per game as well, and really just have an impact on the defensive end of the floor. I know my hot take earlier this, when we started the show would be, Dereck Lively's going to be an all-star this year. That would be obviously amazing if he were to achieve something like that. But realistically, if you're thinking about what he can have in terms of impact, a double-double every night. If we're talking about increasing his minutes as well, he's going to have more opportunities to play, not in just those minutes, but also crucial minutes in closing time as well, because I think one of the things for him as he continues to grow, if he can be on the floor during closing time as well, now you're really having a tremendous impact on both ends, but especially when you're able to solidify the paint and be that anchor on the defensive end when you need it most down the stretch in the last 4 or 5 minutes of ball games for this team.
Got to make free throws, though.
You do have to make free throws, for
that
sure.
was obviously like a funny thing in the Clippers series or whatever, but I mean, it was a big problem. He was a 50% free throw shooter last year, and he did struggle at times to finish through contact. So what could have been a 2 or a 3 point play becomes like a 1 point play. And you can survive 1 or 2 of those per game. You cannot survive 7 of them in a playoff series.
Yeah.
You know, every point, every possession is too valuable for that.
Yeah, he was shooting less than 2 free throws a game. When I talk about like being able to put the ball on the floor, get to the rim, drive a little bit, when you're in those settings, some of that, just being confident with that, comfortable with that is something that's going to get you fouled. And 1.5 free throws per game last season, clearly he's not comfortable. He was not putting himself in those positions. So with his free throws, with the confidence and the comfort in shooting free throws, as that rises, that unlocks other aspects of what he's going to be comfortable with and how he's going to be able to use it effectively, to make this team better on the offensive end.
This is one of the better center duos in the league. I was just trying to think about, just Lively, and also we previewed Gafford last week. This is one of the better center duos that the league has, and I'm trying to think of some other ones that would be a little bit better than them, but it's about as good as it gets when you've got a young guy in Lively at 20 years old and Daniel Gafford's at 25. You've got a really solid center tandem with Lively and Gafford going into this upcoming year.
Yeah, if you count like Gobert and Nas or Gobert and Cat or Cat and Nas, whatever you want to do with Minnesota, and then Chet and Isaiah and Thunder, if that counts. Otherwise, dude.
Chet and Isaiah, I think, is that's the tops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did just watch Lively destroy Chet for 6 games. So
I would agree with you on that.
We'll see. Well, I mean, we'll see. Chet will obviously get better too, just the way that Lively will. And I think Chet's offensive ceiling is so much higher. Yeah, that might be it.
Yeah,
we might be missing somebody obvious, but like Celtics, KP and Horford, like Lively was outplaying those guys. Like the Celtics wings and guards is what beat the Mavs.
Yeah, nobody else is coming to mind.
Yeah,
we might be dumb, but.
And the only reason why
I don't know, let us know in the chat.
Yeah, you can let us know in the chat as well. But
are we?
Trace Jackson Davis and Draymond Green.
I mean, Capella and Okongwu, but like,
yeah. And then Hawks were trying to get rid of one of them, or both of them at some point.
Who's behind Şengün? No.
Şengün is so good, though. I know we're putting on for the Rocks, but Şengün is so good. But the only reason why I bring that up real quick is because if you're a Mavericks fan and you're looking at the depth, not just overall for the team, but specifically at that spot, you should feel really good about the split of minutes, whether it's Lively playing a little bit more minutes this year or the even split that we kind of saw a lot between Lively and Gafford, especially during the second half last year. You should feel good about your center group going into this upcoming year and what that means for the impact that both of those players will have on both ends of the floor, whether it's rim running for Lively and Gafford with Luka and Kyrie, or on the defensive end, more so with Lively in terms of his spatial awareness getting better at that, because we know that Gafford likes to make those splash blocks and make those impact plays. Both of these guys should have really good years for this team if they continue on the same trajectory that we believe that both of them can be on this upcoming year.
And now with Gafford coming off the bench, it's like, all right, Lively's going to beat your center to the rim on a bunch of pick and rolls. The center's going to be in foul trouble, so he's going to have to be playing with the hand tied behind his back. Easy for me to say. Lively checks out. In comes Daniel Gafford. Like, oh my God, this Bulldog menace is going to like just body me and I can't foul him. Yeah. Or Gafford's going to beat up your 21-year-old backup center who's making like $1 million a year. Like, he's going to destroy him. So, going back to the first segment, talking about you need your bench to bring a different element. Lively was able to bring the speed and agility off the bench with him. Gafford is going to bring muscle off the bench with him. And that it will completely change the game, depending on who's in the game.
In the regular season, when Lively was defending a shot within 6 feet of the rim, opponent shot about 55% on it. Solid number. Not great, just good. Just a good
league average,
solid,
like 60-61%.
Yeah. So that means that you're doing your job and you are positively, or in this case, I guess, negatively affecting shots. In the postseason, it was all the way down to 42.9%.
Wow.
On when Lively was defending a shot within 6 feet, taken within 6 feet of the rim.
Yeah,
that was it was the second best mark for any player in the postseason. Would you like to guess who was first?
Kyrie Irving.
Maxi Kleber.
There you go.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I mean,
Maxi Kleber
and
stands
a lot of
out
that was
there.
them playing off each
Gafford is
other.
the second best big duo behind Lively Maxi.
Lively Maxi. Got
That's what we're
it. Got
doing.
it. You heard it here first on DLLS Mavs. Coming up here in just a moment as we close our show today, is Jason Kidd a top 10 NBA head coach? This publication doesn't necessarily feel that way. We'll debate it here in just a moment. But before we get there, Bobby, talk to me a little bit about becoming a diehard here at DLLS.
Yes, if you become a diehard today at alldlls.com/diehard, here's what you're going to get. In exchange for less than $7 a month, you're going to get a free t-shirt, which pays for half the merch. Now, the t-shirts, I promise you they're shipping. I can't wait for mine. The reason behind this is we actually work with ALLCITY as a company works with a t-shirt manufacturer out of Florida, I believe, that they make like super high quality stuff. We could get you a shirt tomorrow from just any jabroni on the road, but we use a really, really, really good manufacturer. So the shirt you're going to get is built to last. But anyway, when you become a diehard, you get a promo code for a free shirt. And when you re-up next year, guess what? You get another free shirt. You also get access to our entire site, including all the paywalled content covering every team in town. You get discounts on merch. You get discounts on upcoming events right before our show. I was in a meeting about tailgate opportunities for Cowboys games coming up. You get discounts on those and many, many other things. You can also join the Discord, diehard only Discord, and the conversation continued this weekend about smoked meats. And just it's like almost to the point now where every time I open Discord, I just get like kind of pissed off because like I'm just watching people eat so much better than me as I like heat up another frozen pasta.
Sound like
I
you
got
take
people,
suggestions.
like smoking briskets, and I'm like, I'll never be them. But they're giving pointers, so I could be them if I put in the work. Like that's why I want to join the Discord.
Also, the Discord is all about being a community.
It is.
Becoming
Yes,
friends.
coming
Yes.
together.
So
Yeah.
you get in there, you post a lot. Maybe you'll get an invite.
Ooh, and maybe it
We-
means
So
we
you can
can't-
eat better.
we're not in
because
charge
you
of
got
these
the invite
invites.
from the
Yeah,
Discord
yeah,
folks.
this is not something that we can actually promise.
Yeah, no,
but
for sure. But yeah,
Invite Bobby to the cookout, please. Please invite him.
Yeah,
Thank
but it's
you.
great. Become a diehard right now, or in 20 minutes, or in 15 minutes, or in 2 days. Heck, in next week. I don't care. Just do it. Just
Do it now. AllDLLS.com/diehard.
Yeah, don't wait till next week. Do it right now.
Do it right now.
Right now.
You can multitask.
We're done in 13 minutes, so just do it in 13 minutes.
Okay.
Appreciate you, gentlemen. As we close our show today, is Jason Kidd a top 10 NBA head coach? Apparently, according to CBS Sports, he's not. So we'll debate it here on DLLS Mavs. This comes from Sam Quinn of CBS Sports. He put together a ranking of all 30 NBA head coaches, and Jason Kidd did not fall into the top 10 nor the top 15. In fact, the top 5 head coaches that he had, Ty Lue at number 5, Steve Kerr at number 4, our old buddy Rick Carlisle at number 3 for the Indiana Pacers, Nick Nurse at number 2, and Eric Spoelstra at number 1. Let me know in the chat where you think Jason Kidd fell in the rankings, and I'll share it with you here in just a moment. But before I get to that, any qualms with the top 5?
I mean, 1 is correct. Spoelstra. I like Nurse and Carlisle. Kerr and Lue, you could quibble with. I think Lue's a very good coach. 5 seems a touch high. Steve Kerr at 4 feels also a touch high, but
You a big Will Hardy guy? He finished 7th on that list.
He was 7th.
6 was Dagnall and Mark Dagnall of the Oklahoma City Thunder. 7 was the Utah Jazz's Will Hardy. Those both seemed quite high to me.
Ime Udoka came in at number 8. Mike Budenholzer, the new Phoenix Suns head coach, came in at number 10. Tom Thibodeau came in at number 10 for the Knicks.
Where's Jason Kidd on that list, Kevin?
So Jason Kidd, gentlemen, did not finish in the top 15, but he barely finished outside or inside the top 20. Before I get to where he was actually, do you know who number 19 was?
Jamal Mosley.
Jamal
Colorado.
Mosley came in
okay.
at number 19, of
Oh,
course.
wow. Okay.
Former Mavericks assistant, of course, head coach with the Orlando Magic. Jason Kidd comes in at number 18 for the top 30 NBA head coaches, according to CBS Sports. And Bobby...
He's tiered with Taylor Jenkins of Memphis, Quinn
Yes.
Snyder of Atlanta, and Michael Malone of Denver.
Wow, that all those guys. That is.
Bobby has
Those
thoughts.
are all good coaches.
Bobby's got...
So
he's
one
got thoughts as I
thing,
can't-
one
yes.
thought,
Yes.
and then I want you to.
Bobby's ready to cook.
Yeah.
Yes.
One thought I had though is that there are a lot of good coaches in the NBA. I
yeah.
think over the past 10 years, coaches that truly stand out to me as impressive and interesting and doing unique and positive things. There's just more and more of them over this past decade. The past decade I've been covering the NBA, and I can quibble with some of the stuff, but I think there are legitimately 20 above average coaches in the NBA.
Bobby?
There may be more than that.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a coach. So I think ranking anything is like, it's just content. It's just September. Who cares?
We do it too. We do it too.
Yeah,
We're not innocent here.
But I think like coaching to me is much more about fit than about like ability to perform or whatever, because that's a very like intangible thing anyway. But like, okay, for example, Mavs fans should know this very, very well. I don't think you'll find anybody that would try to claim that Jason Kidd is a more advanced tactician or strategist or X's and O's guy than Rick Carlisle, right? Who's one of the premier in-game coaches in the NBA. I also don't think you'll find anybody that would say that Jason Kidd is a more adaptable, flexible coach than Rick Carlisle, who during his tenure in Dallas coached both the best defense, one of the best defenses in franchise history, a defense-led team that won a championship, and also coached what was at the time the most efficient offense of all time, right? He did that in the same organization, slightly different players, obviously, but like Rick will adjust his coaching style.
He did that twice with the offense, by the way.
Yes, he did.
He was on track to do it with the 14-15 team before the Rondo trade, and then they did it again in 1920.
With the Mavs, bottom 5 pace team, number 1 offense, with the Pacers, number 2 offense, and the number 2 pace team, or number 1 offense, number 2 pace team. Right. Anyway, but I also don't think you'll find anybody alive that would say that Rick would be a better coach for the Mavs right now than Jason Kidd.
Correct.
In fact, the organization made that determination themselves.
And to great effect, obviously, because the Mavs have been to a conference final and a finals, whereas with Rick, they didn't win a single playoff series since they won the championship. So I'm just not really into like ranking a coach, because every situation is completely different. Like, would J Kidd do as well as Rick is in Indiana? Probably not. Would Rick do as well as J Kidd is in Dallas? Absolutely not. And I know that because I saw it with my own 2 eyes whenever he was here. So every situation is kind of different, and the needs and the wants and the desires and the demands of each coach and their players in that specific team and that specific moment in their history is different.
Objectively, for me, Jason Kidd's a top 15 NBA head coach, because there's something to be said, yes, about being a tactician and being able to adapt to your players in terms of offensive and defensive systems. But there's also a lot to be said about managing players and managing talent. And one of the things that we've talked about over the last few years with Jason Kidd being here is that the relationships that he has with his players, whether it be Kyrie Irving in the fold, obviously Luka Doncic, now with guys like PJ Washington and others, his players love to play for him, and he understands how to get the most out of the guys that he has, and more importantly, how to communicate with them. If you're going to be a guy that's going to be able to coach this team every single night, you've got to be able to communicate with your superstar. And the relationship that he and Luka Doncic have, I would argue that Kidd and Doncic's relationship is one of the most important ones in the entire league, given all the things that Luka has to do for this team and what Jason Kidd is asking him to do night in and night out on both ends of the floor, because he's been willing to challenge Doncic on the defensive end. Hey, we need more from you on that end. And Doncic, at times, has responded to that kind of coaching. So if you're going to have that kind of relationship, you've got to be able to know how to communicate. I think Jason Kidd does a really good job with this team in that particular aspect.
And there was very noticeable friction between Luka and Rick, not just late in the tenure, but also at the beginning.
Yes.
And Tim, as somebody that covered the team even closer than I did, even though I worked there, I'm curious, do you think that Rick would have forged a very good relationship with Kyrie?
Do not think so.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like it would have gone swimmingly. Maybe not poorly, but it's impossible to know, and it's impossible to know how different Rick would have had to be, how different of a coach, how much he would have adapted to still be the Mavericks coach. I mean, it's hard to hypothesize that, but no, I don't think so. I think that was clearly the Luka stuff was driving him out of town. It was his decision, but very much would have been on a hot seat. Very much, if he had stuck around after that summer, it would have been messy. So.
And it's even little things though. Like, I think Luka is a Luka likes to be in control.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So does Rick. So there's a little bit of friction there. There was friction between Rick and Jason Kidd when Jason Kidd was the point guard here. So I feel like J Kidd coming into the situation, having gone through what Luka was going through, probably understood maybe the best way to get this guy to like me and to listen to me is to let him be in control and back off a little bit. And that means letting him kind of run the show on offense. But it also means, hey, if the other team scores 7 straight points, I don't call a timeout. Like, it shows up in all sorts of different ways, right? Rick was a very avid timeout caller, and I know this is a constant gripe between among Mavs fans. Why doesn't he call more timeouts? Go back, and TV cameras don't get this stuff, but go back and watch every Rick timeout after like a 5-0 run, and you will very quickly off camera or right in the corner of the screen see Luka pound the ball, or Luka just drop his shoulders, or Luka just slump off the court and just get real PO'd, right? The most famous example of this came in the second to last game Rick coached as head coach of the Mavs, Game 6 against the Clippers in Dallas at home. It's the fourth quarter. The Mavs are down, but they're making a little push. You can feel the tide turning. Momentum isn't real, but you could feel something. There was something happening. The Mavs are making a little run. Clippers, I think, had missed a couple shots in a row. They come down and they commit a turnover. I think it was a pass went out of bounds. There's a traveling or an offensive foul or something. And the Mavs are going to take the ball out of bounds. And I think they're down 2 or 3. And Rick calls timeout. Crowd's starting to get loud. Players starting to feel it. But Rick calls timeout. And Luka was pissed. He was pissed. And all the other players were mad too.
Yeah.
But Luka in particular was livid. And literally, like, not to be that guy, but the Mavs are up 3-2 in the series at the time. And in that moment, I literally turned to a couple of my coworkers at the time and said, like, the series is over. Like, this is it. They're going to lose.
Look at how prophetic
They came out.
were.
They did not score. Clippers going to run. Kawhi goes crazy. They win the game. Mavs lose in Game 7, blowout fashion. It was it. And
Every
then Rick
coach
is gone.
Yeah, every coach can't be guilty of this. I remember Kidd had one in, I believe, in the finals. That was.
Oh yeah, I was not a fan of that one.
Yeah. But generally, it's absolutely true to say that Jason Kidd has ceded a lot of the control to Luka, and he's been happy to do that. And that's something that Carlisle wasn't able to do early on. But yeah, that's why this whole exercise is like so silly and so hard, because like Spoelstra's my number one, because I've seen him elevate so many different types of teams over the years, and
be able to coach those different kinds of superstars as well throughout the years. Yes,
but. In a different, in Greg Popovich is a Hall of Fame coach, one of the greatest of all time. And he elevated different versions of the team with the same core, but you see he hasn't adapted quite as well to the modern NBA, now that his core is completely reset, and he doesn't have these same, people, these same Hall of Famers, who he knows exactly how they should be playing and deployed and all this stuff. And so
By the way,
it's very hard to quantify coaching.
Joe Mazzulla was number 11 on this list.
I don't understand why he's not in the Wonderkin category with Hardy and Dagnall. And to
the
that
Celtics
same point,
are like changing offense and defense. They're incredible.
Yeah. Mazzulla, I believe, was my third place for Coach of the Year, if I recall right.
One thing that I do want to point out from that list
Maybe
as well
higher.
is
Second?
all 4 coaches that are still currently in the NBA that the Mavs have beaten in playoff series ranked ahead of Kidd on that list.
That would be true.
Yeah. Now, Sam Quinn, I feel like correctly characterized what happened between the Mavs and the Thunder in the playoffs as the Thunder dictating the terms of engagement. Like, the Mavs took what the Thunder gave them, which is open corner threes. Now, obviously, that is a tactical decision to take what they give you and to not try and do something else. But I guess if you want to give the Thunder credit, that's cool. But then, in the very same paragraph, my guy Sam Quinn says, Mark Daigneault, he's giving him credit for this. Mark Daigneault also recognized that the starting lineup is not working out and made the decision to bench Josh Giddey, who to that point had been the Thunder starter forever. But that led me to wonder, well, what about it was untenable? Why wasn't it working? Was it anything the Mavs were doing? Maybe that like emphasized that this was not working. Like, could that have been a tactical decision by the Mavs?
Right.
Or was it just like a thing that happened that was just beyond anyone's
Josh
control?
Giddey is unplayable at this point.
Yeah, but like that didn't seem to matter in the previous series.
Correct.
It didn't seem to matter at any point during the regular season. So I don't know. It was just something weird about the AAC lights or something. I don't know. No one gets credit for that.
Jason Kidd and that Mavericks team got to the NBA Finals. Jason Kidd, good head coach for this team, the right coach for this team right now as they try to continue their momentum that they built last year. That'll do it for this episode of DLLS Mavs. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports on YouTube. Hit that like button while you're in here to let us know how we're doing here at DLLS Sports. We'll be back tomorrow here on DLLS Mavs to continue covering your entire Mavericks team every single day right here on DLLS Sports. For Bobby Carella, Tim Cato, my name is Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.